Welcome to Lower the Bar with John and Joe. Remember to breathe. This is your Power Hour. Hey everybody, welcome back. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. What a beautiful, beautiful day. Second one in a row.
I know. Well, we need to explain to our listening audience that we are in a remote location today, our first, because we've been filming obviously over the wintertime.
Yes.
And here in the Northeast, it's actually been a pretty mild winter, but today it's 70 degrees, sunny and beautiful. And we are outside at the Round Lake Estuary today, which is this preserve that has bald eagles nesting here, egrets, blue herons, every kind of bird you can imagine, turtles. It's just exquisitely beautiful.
We're surrounded with lovebirds.
Yeah.
Everybody's nesting. Every bird is nesting.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
No, I'm not
No,
nesting.
kidding. So there's also a vortex here. There's an energy here that is very powerful. And obviously this is a sanctuary and there's a lot of energy, birds nesting, there's a lot going on here.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
What do you mean there's a vortex here? Is something going to happen?
No, there's just a portal, like there's a
Well-
vortex, like in
You know we talk about
New
portals and
Mexico
how you
and
can be
Blue
drawn
Zone.
into them. And that's not the topic for today.
No, but there's a wonderful energy here, certainly being in nature. And where we are, there's a dock, for those of you who can't see that we are on, that comes about 100 feet out to the water in the middle. So we're surrounded by water and it's just spectacularly beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's much quieter than it was yesterday.
Yes.
So I don't know what's going on.
This is 2.0 today, folks. We tried to film yesterday out here, and it was very windy. And by the time we got back to edit, it sounded like white noise.
Yes, the wind was just too much, but it was beautiful.
It would have put you
and
to
it was
sleep.
even cool.
We don't want to put you to sleep.
It was even cool.
Yes, and today is beautiful. So, how was your week?
My week was great. I've just had a wonderful week. Have a lot of new clients. Very interesting. I love my clients. They come in and, you know, it takes such courage to call a hypnotist that you don't know and then come into the office and tell them so much stuff about your life. But it's such a joy to be able to help them and guide them to achieve the goals that they set with me. So every week is a good week.
Oh, nice.
And then I get to work with you, which makes the week even better.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Thank you for that compliment. So, my week was great. I can't remember in the last podcast if I talked about my leveling up in the dream I had.
You reiterated what you had said
Okay.
before about how things have changed for you because of the end of that dream. And I remember saying to people who are watching, you have to watch our last podcast where John talks about this recurring dream he's had for 20 years with a negative outcome, and he finally had a positive outcome. Have you had that dream again since you had the positive outcome?
Well, that's what I wanted to share, because all week I've been having dreams that are different. Now, what's really interesting is they're unfolding in a way that it's not just a different ending. It's the same framework of the dream, but the dream is different.
I don't get what's different about it if the framework is the
Well,
same.
I levitate in all my dreams.
Okay.
And
You know that's when the subconscious does its best work, dreaming at night.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So always dreaming of levitating, and it's always framed around escapement, running, people chasing me, energies that are dark. And I resonate in anxiety, fear, frustration, all of those energies are present in me. And in the end, obviously, I'm left alone, you know, with no money, phone, any communication, sometimes naked. But my dreams have been unfolding and I'm levitating, but it's more about inclusion.
Okay.
Which is, I thought was really interesting. And I had another one this morning that kind of manifested in that similar fashion where I'm with a group of people and I'm getting their attention and I'm asking them to watch me as I levitate. And that's a very different experience for me.
Yeah.
There's definitely subliminal messages in my subconscious now that are beginning to flourish and change, and the whole tenor and tone of these dreams now are completely different, which is incredible.
It sounds like you now are not running from your gifts, perhaps, but you're embracing them and having more confidence. So now they are going to be forefront in your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing.
Absolutely. You know, I really like talking to you about that because, you know, you being a hypnotist and taking people into their subconscious and dealing with issues in the subconscious, you know, you're very familiar kind of with that arena and how people express themselves and share with you and move through that. So it's very powerful and enlightening for me to hear your insights with me on my dreams and kind of what I'm feeling and how they digest. And I have my own kind of interpretation, but it's so nice to hear, you know, from you, whatever, you know, you feel is coming up, and it helps me integrate and understand what they are. But it definitely, I think you really hit the nail on the head, Joe, about coming into my power, feeling more comfortable because
sharing it.
Yeah, because I'm expressing
You're
it.
saying, look at me, I can do this.
Yeah, it's
and
a
that's just
different
the
energy,
beginning.
which is really amazing to me to experience that. And
gratifying.
I can't remember a time in my life where my dreams were pleasant.
Oh dear.
Ever. They were always filled with anxiety, tension, fear. Oh, absolutely. And
well, you've changed some neural pathways in your subconscious mind to understand who you are, what you are, and you've accepted your gifts. And your gifts are really very, very strong. I know we haven't talked about them in a long time, but you're able to download messages for people about their lives. You're able to heal people with your voice, with the tone of your voice. That's amazing. And I bet even you, when you first started doing it, said, what?
yes.
What's going on here?
WTF.
Okay.
That was the
I was
first.
trying to be nice about it. But.
That was literally the first thing that came to me after it happened. But and what's really interesting is once I had the dream where I was able to receive love from someone else in the dream, everything changed. Everything became more acute, more focused. My ability to read people or get messages were much more clear, succinct, just more information. You know, it seems that I've gotten more clarity.
Well, you've been working on the inner child.
Well, yeah.
And we did that in phase 1 of hypnosis with me.
Yes.
And now you have much more confidence in who you are. And you know there's nothing wrong with you.
Well, you know what? I want to share something. Because you hit on a topic that is really important, and that is foundational work, but creating a foundation of that sort of paternal and maternal energy. And I think most of us have to, at some point in our life, go to that space and acknowledge it and try to nurture yourself. There are many families that you grow up where both your parents are wonderfully supportive and incredibly attentive and loving and kind, but to be honest, that's not the norm.
I agree.
Most families are dysfunctional, have severe issues, and whether you were parented or not, even the traumas you had first day of school, you know, all of those play into the child and the experience.
Programs that are put in your subconscious.
Yes. So at some point, I think it's very important that we look at ourselves in a place of, I need to parent myself. You know, I might not be getting it from my mother, or I might not be getting it from my father, but I can give it to myself. I can create that energy internally to change everything. Because once I was able to do that, Joe, because I've been doing this work for a number of years now, that's when the real change began. And I think
But it takes a while,
the dr-
doesn't it?
well,
Doesn't happen overnight.
No, I learned how to receive love about 6 months ago, and I just had this dream last week, which was confirmation of my subconscious. So it took that long, 6 months.
For your subconscious to make that new neural pathway.
Yes,
Isn't
literally.
that amazing? Doesn't take everybody that long, but look how long you have felt that way.
Well, I had a lot of damage in
Yeah.
my life, Jill.
Yes,
I've been
yes,
through a
you
lot of suffering.
And you know why this is all so important? Because once we know about the inner child and how to make that inner child feel worthy, they can look at everybody can look at their triggers. What triggers you? Because most of the time it's things that happened, well, I would say 99% of the time, it's things that happened to you a long time ago. And you're triggered. And it's because that inner child has some negative programs in there. And you have to learn, okay, this is the way I felt when I was triggered that way. I just got to change my response.
Yes.
And you got to do it over and over and over until it becomes just a habit. Yeah, I heard him say that. I've heard that before. I just don't get mad at that anymore. You don't have to say it out loud, but you say it to yourself, and you've got to do that. So today, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about triggers. Triggers in relationships.
Well, actually, I think we maybe should talk about triggers in the family dynamic, because we're really just talking now topically about impact and foundational inner work that we can do for ourselves that are related to our childhood. So maybe this is the appropriate time to kind of, we sort of stumbled into it this way. We were going to talk about triggers with relationships, lovers, friends, but let's talk about...
Yeah, we can do that next time.
Yeah, let's
just
talk
in
about
your family. Mother, sister, brother.
Which tend to
Aunt,
be the
uncle.
most impactful.
Yes, I totally agree. Unless you have been separated from your family for a long time, and now you've created a family that isn't biological, which is the best thing you can do when you psychologically divorce yourself from a family that doesn't give you what you need. I know that was a lot to think about, but it's true.
Unpack. Yes.
Really, your family is the people that you love, the people that stand behind you, that take care of you, that are interested in you, that support you. Doesn't have to be your biological family.
I mean, biological family is a tattoo, but you can have tattoos removed.
Touche.
So, really, if I can share with our audience, if you don't have a supportive family, make your own.
That's what
Create your own. You are worth it. You are worthy, and you deserve, no matter who you are.
What's a trigger? Think of a trigger that you have within your family. Something is said and it triggers a memory that you don't like.
For me personally?
Yeah. Or generically, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's too personal, so make it generic.
You know what triggers me, Joe? Laziness. But I don't mean lazy as in just you're tired, you don't want to do something. I'm talking about not taking care of responsibility. And I don't mean paying bills. I'm talking about emotionally, internally, neglecting yourself, seeing a friend just continue behavior that you know is destructive, and that triggers me. I know we can't change anybody, but you can bring awareness to them.
Why does it trigger you, though? Because you're not responsible for their behavior.
Because I care about them.
Okay,
and
you know they can do better.
Yes, and I see them continuing the pathology and not owning it. And when it's destructive, and again, it triggers me in the sense I'll say something to them, but I've realized now and look through the lens of you can't change anybody. And what happens to you is only about you. So I also look at why am I triggered?
Right.
That's really, and if I can share with our audience, that's kind of the dynamic of what needs to happen. When you're triggered, step outside the circle immediately, right? You know,
Right.
you want to just say, hey, what's going on here? Why am I getting triggered? Why am I feeling agitated or angry?
Feel upset about something you
Yes.
have no control.
Exactly. So those are the times that we need to look at ourselves the most. Those are those teaching moments. We need to realize that that's how we navigate. Life is that simple. When you are triggered, you need to look at what triggered you so you can move through it so that doesn't happen anymore.
And I think a good friend will try to step in and show a different pathway.
Yes.
But there's a point at which that friend needs to understand this is XYZ's path. This is the path he or she has chosen, and I've talked to them so many times, and you just have to let it go.
Yes.
It's hard. If it's that hard, then don't spend so much time with them.
Well, boundaries. And it's setting boundaries and sharing it with them and letting them know kind of where you're coming from and how you feel. And again, all of that awareness helps you navigate. So that's one of my triggers. My sister triggers me sometimes when I don't feel she's really listening or pays attention to what I'm saying, like she doesn't really care.
It's just,
Yes. And that
Yeah.
triggers me. And I've thought about it for a while. And what helped me move through that was myself saying, I don't need validation from her. You know, that's really what I apparently was looking for, was just validation.
course.
And the more I realized I didn't really need it, the less she bothered me.
the more you realize you're not going to get it too, right?
Well, yes.
Not on a regular basis. Maybe occasionally.
Yes, but for me personally, I didn't feel I needed it anymore as much as just
Okay.
hearing it from her,
Well.
because I still hear it, but it doesn't impact me. I just kind of go, yeah, okay, whatever. And
Yeah.
just, you know, and I let it be. Where before it stirred something internally that really irked me, that gave me anxiety. Like it really kind of pissed me off, you know? So now it doesn't impact me. So I can share with our listeners too that the more you begin to integrate, understand your triggers, life becomes so much easier. It really just becomes easier. You don't struggle as much because things aren't impacting you the way they used to, and you have more focus, more clarity, you're more present because you're not living in that anxiety of being triggered. But I have to say, family is so much harder.
Oh yeah, especially if you're from a big family like I am.
Yes, I only have a sister. You have a large family.
My mom had 11 children.
Yeah.
9 of them grew up. So you're going to laugh when I tell you what my biggest trigger was. My biggest trigger was coming home from school and my mom saying, you need to fold the clothes on the kitchen table, on the dining room table. We had a huge table. We all ate together every night. Picture it. 1 week full of socks for 11 people.
Oh, so you were doing the entire family.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah, no one else folded clothes with me. My mom may have, but she had a million other
So
things
you
to
did
do.
it all yourself.
I never wanted to look at socks again. Think about it. All these children were
That's very
from
funny.
ages 1 to 15. And then it was my dad and my mom.
That's a lot of laundry, Joe.
Oh my God. My mom had 3 washers and 3 dryers that went every single day. And a
That's
chute.
like a bed and breakfast.
Yes, it went, and we had a chute. Now, I told you about my brother getting caught in the chute when my parents were out and I was babysitting. The chute went from the 3rd floor all the way down to the basement because it would be just too much to always
Carry all the
carry
clothes
all
around.
that. Yeah. And all the bedding and all that. So yeah, till this day, and I thought about it today because usually my husband does his own wash. I do my own, he does his own.
Really?
Yes, he does his
okay.
own wash. But he's been lately doing something very sweet because he knows how I am about my things being wrinkled. Oh, that triggers me. When he says, oh, your clothes are still in the dryer. Don't do my clothes if you don't have time to take them out. Don't even do them. That's fine. He put them upstairs and he laid them all out on the bed and spread them. And I thought that was so sweet. So today I had the time and I took his clothes because he was putting in new carpeting. Well, he just had one thing to finish at the top. Then he was cleaning the garage. I said, I'm going to hang his stuff up. And there were the socks. 6 million appearances.
Oh my gosh.
And
Were
I
you
said,
triggered?
I was triggered for a split second. I said, you know what? These are the socks of the man I love. It's a pleasure. And I just changed how I felt about socks. So you just
Was
gotta
that, wait, let me,
change.
I don't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt
go
you, but
ahead.
was that the first time that you had acknowledged that?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
From childhood? Oh,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. No, that's,
It was
I
the
love
first time
that. Wow.
that I said,
Interesting.
look at all these socks at the bottom. And I said, no, I'm going to look at them differently. And I went downstairs and I said, I hung up all his shirts. There's three pairs of pants. I got to go because I had a meeting. And he said, wow, thanks.
Nice. So we can get past our triggers.
Yeah. And most triggers are more serious than that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that our listeners just have awareness of this.
Yeah, think about what triggers you. Is it traffic? When you leave the house in the morning? Is it the way if you have a mate that you live with, is it the way you part? Sometimes it's not very pleasant. Does that trigger your day?
Well, it really
Yeah.
depends on where you live. You could, be a farmer and a cow got loose,
Oh,
You know
yes.
that story. Or you could live in the
Yes.
city and, someone just spilled coffee on you on the subway. Granted, you're going to react, but how important is it to you? What does it mean? Do you need to carry it all day? Because I know people that do.
Yes, they do. Because they live for drama.
Yes.
They live for drama. I'm not one of those people. I don't do drama. if
No,
can
I don't
help it.
either. But those are also signs of maybe people that you want to distance yourself from.
Yes, yes.
Again, getting back to family, family is a tattoo. You can't, but you can make your own, and you can gravitate to people that give you what you need and support you and love you. And
I was just thinking of another trigger, and I bet everybody can relate to this. When you're in school and you come home with your report card and you have, let's say, 2 A's, 2 B's, and 2 C's, and your parent says, how come you got C's? They never mention the A's and the B's. It's so important to say, wow, I'm so proud of you for the A's, for the B's. The C is average. Maybe you could do better. Can we work on that? But it's a trigger when they just pick out the negative.
a lot of people do that.
I know it. I think most people do. You could do better. Why aren't you doing this? Not thank you for doing what you did, but you could be doing so,
Well, I think that really gets back to lower the bar.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated us to name the show Lower the Bar,
Mm-hmm.
because there are expectations, not just of yourself, but of other people that set it for you. So if you set it a little lower, you can meet them.
Absolutely.
You appreciate them in that moment. And that energy that you just described about acknowledgement is all kind of a part of that.
Absolutely.
That entanglement.
And it just grows exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
It just multiplies. It changes your mood immediately. You just feel, thanks for appreciating me. And you even might say to yourself, I could have done better than a C. I'll work on it next time. It's not the end of the world.
Well, I also think too, personally, like you as the person who got those grades, can do the same thing to yourself, as to say, well, I got 2 A's and a B, but the C's, oh man, this isn't good, as opposed to creating the same internal environment for yourself, praising yourself for the great work, and then sort of coming in with, well, okay,
If I like A and B so well, why don't I work a little harder?
yeah, so there are many kind of
And what I used to
avenues
tell
to-
myself is, have you ever tried to do homework with 11 kids? My mom and dad had us do homework from 7:30 to 9:30 every night. I probably was there waiting. It was quiet. We all had to sit at the table. And I have 2 brothers, 1 a year younger, 1 a year older, and all they did is pass jokes around the whole time. I couldn't do work. I was too busy listening to the jokes and laughing.
Yeah, well, you're constantly distracted. So.
And constantly distracted.
But you did it.
I did it.
So we are coming to the end of our podcast. And again, we are at beautiful Round Lake Preserve today. And you could hear the Canadian geese in the background cackling behind us.
Yeah, I
We
don't
have
know
an
what's going
audience.
on over there, but there's a party.
And we so appreciate you listening to us. And next week, we will have topics, probably talking about triggers. Again.
Triggers, oh yes, because everybody has triggers, but not within the family. Meanwhile, I would like you to be thinking about your personal triggers and perhaps write some notes down. This is what triggers me. How can I reduce my response to it? You may have the trigger forever, but if the response is minimized, you're going to be so proud of yourself because it's cell memory. You are going to be triggered. You don't get rid of memories. You just are able to control your response to them. And that's very important in order to have a happier life. So we'll see you next week.
We will.
Oh, we'll hear you next week. You'll hear us next week, sorry.
And we might be at another location, depending upon the weather. Again, we're up here in the Northeast, and it's beautiful and sunny. But we are in March, and we could get a snowstorm.
And that would be fun, too.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, no, that would be fun. You would do it.
Yes, but I'm so ready for spring and summer.
I am too,
I'm
but
a
there's
warm weather
nothing
person.
like a snowstorm that's fun to walk in at night, but you know the next day the sun's going to come out and it's all going to be gone.
Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like a freebie.
Okay.
Not buying it, huh?
Well,
So if I say
In
to you,
January-
snowstorm, are you triggered?
good point. Good
Yeah,
point.
I think you are.
I'm just so ready for summer.
Okay, I'm going to change that trigger. When we have a snowstorm, I have a neighbor, say she's from Belfast, and we both were teachers for 30 years. The first day that we didn't have school because of a snowstorm, we put the fireplace on my big enclosed porch, and it put all the outside lights on, and we just partied on the porch and
Well, that
watched
sounds
it
like
snow.
fun.
So it is fun.
Yes,
It is, and we
absolutely.
play cards and games. So we'll see you next week. Hear you next week.
Thank
whatever.
you for coming with us on this journey, and we appreciate you listening to us, and we hope you have a great week. And remember to lead with love.
And I wish you were sticking around because John is going to take a dive into the water. We'll see you next week.
Not. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.